The African savanna is a vast, beautiful, but unforgiving landscape where survival is a daily challenge, especially for the young and vulnerable. In the heart of this wild expanse, a defenseless orphaned rhino calf struggles to stay alive, alone, afraid, and exposed to the many predators that roam these lands. Its fate seems sealed. But just when hope begins to fade, an unexpected guardian emerges. Not one, but an entire herd of elephants. What follows is a true story of compassion, unlikely alliances, and the profound bond that sometimes forms between species in the wild. This is a story you won't forget. Under the blazing African sun, the dry earth cracked beneath the tiny hooves of a young rhino calf. She was barely a few months old, small, wide-eyed, and trembling. Her mother, once her only shield against the dangers of the wild, had fallen victim to poachers just days earlier. Now alone on the open savanna, she wandered aimlessly, unaware of the danger that lurked in every direction. Without her mother's guidance, she didn't know where to find food or water. Her cries echoed into the night, small, desperate sounds swallowed by the vast wilderness. To a lion or hyena, that sound meant one thing: easy prey. The African savanna is home to some of the fiercest predators on the planet. Lions hunt in prides. Hyenas stalk in packs. Even leopards, silent and swift, strike from the shadows. And to them, a lone rhino calf is an opportunity. With no horn to defend herself and no herd to protect her, the calf was an open target. Every rustle in the grass made her flinch. Every distant roar sent her scurrying beneath the nearest tree. She didn't know how much longer she could last. The nights were colder, her strength was fading, and just when it seemed that no one would hear her silent cries, the ground began to shake, not from danger, but from something else entirely. The tremble in the earth grew louder, a steady rhythmic pounding. Dust rose into the air as shadows stretched across the horizon. It was an elephant herd. Led by a towering matriarch, the herd moved with quiet authority. Calves trotted beside their mothers. Tusks gleamed in the golden light. These were gentle giants, respected and feared in equal measure. At first, the young rhino froze. She didn't know whether to run or stay, but she had nowhere left to run. The matriarch noticed her. She slowed her pace, trunk raised, scenting the air. The herd followed her lead, forming a loose circle as they approached the calf. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the matriarch stepped closer, her great trunk reaching out. She touched the calf, gently on the back. The rhino flinched but didn't flee. Something passed between them in that moment. A recognition, a shared understanding of loss and life. Elephants are known for their empathy. They mourn their dead. They protect their young fiercely, and in rare moments, they extend that protection to others. The matriarch let out a low rumble, deep and soothing. The rest of the herd settled around the calf, forming a gentle barrier. It wasn't a decision spoken. It was instinctual. They had adopted her, and from that moment on, she was no longer alone. As night fell across the savanna, predators began to stir. A pair of lions crouched in the tall grass, eyes glinting in the moonlight. Nearby, hyenas laughed in the distance, their haunting calls echoing through the dark. Danger was never far, but the elephant herd was ready. They formed a protective ring around the rhino calf, massive bodies standing shoulder to shoulder, like living walls of muscle and ivory. Their ears twitched at the slightest sound. Their trunks hovered close to the ground, scanning, sensing. When a shadow moved too close, the matriarch stomped her foot. Once. The thunderous sound sent vibrations through the earth. A warning. The lions paused. Then the elephants trumpeted, a sound so powerful it echoed for miles. The predators hesitated. They weren't foolish. They knew better than to test a herd of elephants, especially one standing their ground. The calf, nestled safely in the center, didn't understand all that was happening, but she knew one thing: she was safe. And for the first time since her mother's death, she slept. Each day, the elephants continued their migration, and each day they allowed the little rhino to follow. She walked beneath their bellies, drank from the watering holes they uncovered, and rested in their shade. She had become part of them, and they had become her family. In nature, survival is often painted as ruthless: eat or be eaten. But this story is a reminder that compassion exists, even in the wild. The elephant herd could have ignored the rhino calf. They had their own young to care for, their own safety to protect. But they didn't. They chose to help. Their actions show that empathy isn't exclusive to humans. It lives in the hearts of creatures who've never spoken a word and yet communicate volumes through action, presence, and protection. Biologists who later observed the herd described it as extraordinary but not surprising. Elephants have been seen comforting distressed animals. There are even recorded instances of them mourning the bones of unrelated species. But adopting a rhino calf? That was something special. It spoke to the fragile balance of life in the wild. Rhinos, once plentiful, are now critically endangered. Every calf matters. Every bond counts. And through this simple act of kindness, the elephant herd helped preserve not just a life, but hope. Hope that even in a world full of dangers, there are still forces of peace. Hope that compassion, no matter the species, can bridge any divide. Hope that the wild still holds miracles. The rhino calf survived. With the help of the elephants, she grew stronger. Park rangers eventually spotted her and monitored her health from a distance. They chose not to intervene because she wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. Word of her story spread across the globe. Conservationists hailed it as a rare glimpse into interspecies empathy. Donations poured in to support both rhino and elephant conservation efforts. Today, that once tiny calf is nearly grown, and while she roams freely, she's never far from the elephants who raised her. Their story reminds us why conservation matters, why every effort to protect wildlife, every reserve created, every poacher stopped, every dollar donated makes a difference. Because in the wild, one act of kindness can ripple across generations. So if this story moved you, don't let it end here. Learn, share, support wildlife conservation, because the next life saved could depend on it.